This is the kind of news you're going to start your mornings with. You want to start your mornings with. CrowdStrike says it will lay off 500 workers. Now, that's not really a large number when you're comparing it to layoffs that happen across big tech, but this is a bit off of the beaten path. This isn't because they are supercharging their processes with AI. Cybersecurity giant CrowdStrike said on Wednesday that it would lay off 5%. So how big is this company, really? Let's do some quick math. So about like 10,000 people. In an 8K filing, CrowdStrike said the layoffs were part of a strategic plan. The plan, in air quotes, to evolve its operations to yield greater efficiencies as company continues to scale its business with focus and discipline to meet its goal of $10 billion in ending annual recurring revenue. So that's pretty ambitious, but it doesn't surprise me. I think because of the proliferation of development with AI, because everybody that doesn't really know how to code can now develop with AI, people are shipping apps with a lot of security vulnerabilities. Now, CrowdStrike is providing security services mostly to enterprise-grade applications, but even in the enterprise-grade world, people are generating so much of their code using AI. Microsoft just came out with the statement I think they generate about 30% of all the code they've written with AI. If code is written with AI, I'm not saying they're written thoughtlessly, right? But there's hallucinations. There's security vulnerabilities that get introduced. And unless you point it out to AI that, hey, maybe that looks a little sus, we could plug that maybe, it's not going to do it for you. So AI is creating a lot of jobs for CrowdStrike, but not in the way you might think. The company also said it was planning to hire in key strategic areas throughout its fiscal year ending January 31st, 2026. That's a nod to you guys in cybersecurity. It's a great time to get into cybersecurity. It's a great time to pick up the skills you need to become a cybersecurity analyst. These changes position us to move faster, operate more efficiently, and continue our cybersecurity leadership. Great leadership coming out of CrowdStrike when they had that debacle that led to the blue screen of death across devices everywhere that were Microsoft that was running Windows, if you guys remember that. Thing that led to a 2-day delay lag of flights on Delta, I think. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're still a leader in the space. That's just the standard of cybersecurity in the enterprise space. CrowdStrike became a household name in 2016 when it investigated the DNC hack and attributed it to the Russian government. Last summer, the company made headlines for the wrong reasons. There we go. A faulty update to its software impacted 8.5 million Windows devices around the world. Yeah. It's a surefire way to go from household name to household shame across the world. A faulty update to its software impacted 8.5 million Windows devices around the world and caused a massive outage all over the world. Well, now you're a household name in 20 different languages in 7 different continents. If the penguins are using Windows systems, which they are because they're forced to pay tariffs, forcing airports to shut down and hindering airlines, banks, hotels, and other kinds of businesses. Well, there's jobs coming your way if you're a cybersecurity analyst, and there's jobs leaving your households, unfortunately. But exciting news all around. Okay, what have we got here? Ford hikes Mustang Mach-E. I've always thought the Mach-E was a unique looking EV. Can we just sort of, take a quick second to admire how it sort of stands out amongst the other world of boxy EVs? In the EV world, you either have boxes, cardboard boxes, or you have Teslas. I think the Mach-E does a pretty good job of standing out. This looks pretty cool. And the Rivians, I like the way the Rivians look. Anyway, sad news, they're getting pricier. Why are they getting pricier? I thought tariffs was supposed to protect U.S. industry. Ford, the last I heard, was the bedrock of the U.S. industry. What's going on? Ford is raising the price of all-electric Mustang Mach-E SUV and popular entry-level Maverick pickup by as much as 2,000. Ooh, that's steep. Due to the import taxes President Donald Trump is facing on vehicles made in Mexico. Oh, that's right. That's right. So much about the production of even US-based companies doesn't happen natively on US soil. And if the production is happening in other places like, I don't know, in Mexico, even if the production isn't happening in places like Mexico, there's sure as heck supply chain routes that exist outside of the US. We're sourcing raw materials for everything we make in the US from outside of the US. So tariffs are going to come back to you one way or the other. Higher prices could make it harder for traditional automakers like, excuse me, Ford to sell their EVs. Ford was already losing billions of dollars on scaling up its EV program. It may only get more difficult if the 7.5 thousand federal EV tax credit goes away. Wait, okay, which is something both Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson have hinted is coming. Well, I hope, like Trump and Elon can scratch their backs and I scratch my back and you give me that tax credit anyway, sort of a fashion, and still have this be on the table. Because I don't know, man. If you want people to move towards EVs, you got to make it lucrative for them. And a 7.5K tax credit is a pretty zesty incentive. The price tag comes just days after Ford said tariffs will add 2.5 billion to the company's costs across the remainder of 2025. Woof, that is tariffs not working the way you expect them to. Who knew? Who knew the tariffs would have ripples and butterfly effects, sort of whip you in the face from every what direction? Who knew tariffs were so pervasive? GM said the impact could be as high as 5 billion. Okay, what have we got to sort of help us swallow that piece of news? Anything good on the horizon? Anything good on the panel? Game, set, funding. Clever. A startup building AI agents for game development emerges from stealth with $27 million in funding. I've never gotten the idea of, well, I guess I sort of understand. I mean, if you want to make quite an entrance, if you want to launch, right? Like make a proper launch, I think you want to develop your startups or your enterprises in stealth. Because you could truly impart the idea of 0 to 100, 0 to 1 instantaneously if you've been in stealth for years in development and then you come out with a product that is a bit of a head turner. So what do they do? How do these game development AI agents work? Games drove the creation of GPU processors back in the 1990s. Gotta owe it to you guys, gamers have been the reason we have AI. I think the hardware for AI is pretty much GPUs, which were originally developed to do the parallel processing needed to render very, very high fidelity gaming graphics real time. Hence, we have these super powerful GPUs. So it's only fitting that artificial intelligence, the technology that GPUs are used to power nowadays, is making its way into nearly every aspect of video game design. Is it poetic? Maybe not. Bit of a stretch in rhythmic bars, in keeping with that trend. On Wednesday, a startup called Set, which is building game set funding, nice, which is building AI agents to build and run mobile games, is emerging from stealth with $27 million in funding. So this makes a bit more sense, right? If you're making your typical 3D games, you need to do a lot of work in Unity. You need to write code in C#. And that, at least the 3D design, isn't really effectively done using AI. It's more prone to generate AI slop, right? To create 3D characters and to model 3D using AI, it's assisted to a minimal degree. I think there's platforms like Mach-E AI that let you generate 3D characters from an AI prompt. But really, if you want to make a desktop or a console-based game that is super high fidelity, it's going to take a lot more than just, like vibe coding your way into developing a plot and characters. So it makes sense that they're starting out with developing mobile games, which don't need to be as high fidelity. Although you can see some pretty impressive 3D mobile games on devices these days. Anyway, it's emerging from stealth with $27 million in funding. The funding was raised in two tranches, the most recent of which was a 15 million Series A, led by Bessemer Venture Partners. That's a pretty big name in VC. Saga VC, nod to the good old Sega times of gaming. V Games and Akin Babigic. Anyway, the founder and former head of the UK-based games unicorn Triple Dot, which now heads VC firm Arcadia Gaming Advisors. Earlier, Set raised 12 million in seed funding from F2 Bessemer and some gaming industry leaders as angel investors. This is sort of a hi if you're in the stream right now. Anyway, this is sort of a nod to the trend that a lot of software companies that are coming out of the fold right now are basically AI assistance companies. There's a process through development of different kinds of products, whether it be software, whether it be design deliverables like mockups in Figma, whether it be mobile games. And the companies that are assisting in the development of this process, like Cursor, Windsurf, that just got acquired for $3 billion by OpenAI, these are the kind of companies you want to maybe focus on. And it's not, well, obviously it's hard, but it's not crazy to imagine building out tools like this, because all you need to do is identify the process and um, make chained LLM calls based on the output, the incremental output for process steps. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in creating these tools, but at its heart, that's what it is. You're feeding the incremental output from chain steps in the process that you're using to create these deliverables. What else we got? In a case of uncanny timing, sources tell me that AppLovin, a would-be competitor of Sets, is today announcing the sale of its gaming assets to Triple Dot. That deal for 800 million, not 900 million as AppLovin previously estimated. It's set to be publicly confirmed later today around AppLovin's Q1 earnings. Up to now, Tel Aviv-based Set has taken the same approach to stealth mode as a lot of other B2B startups. Let's really get into how they do stealth mode, why they do stealth mode. Since being founded in 2022, okay, so they haven't really been cooking in the kitchen for too long. It's been about 3 years. It's been under the radar, honing product marketing fit and nurturing its early customer base. So, stealth mode is for two primary purposes. It serves two primary purposes. Number one, you want to sort of experiment and figure out what is the product and what is the customer base we're trying to connect with. And once you've figured out somewhat of that fit, you want to sort of build your base of early customers. And they've been doing that for around 3 years. Today, that customer list features Zynga, which is another video game developer. It's not so it's a developer, video game developer. They came out with that really popular mobile-based poker game, Playtika, Superplay, Rovio, Plarium, Candivore, and Unity. Way to bury the lead. That's incredible if they've partnered with Unity. Okay, round of applause for Set. Really did deserve that huge tranche, rounds of funding. Okay, what else do we have in entertainment? Netflix debuts its generative AI-powered search tool. Generative AI-powered search, is that just retrieval augmented generation? I think the innovation, AI-powered innovation, as it's happening in big tech, mostly has to do with taking a simple innovation that is powered by AI, but making sure it brings a lot of value. Which I think if Netflix is really redoing the way they do search, it must bring a lot of value. After hinting at a new AI-powered search experience during its recent earnings call, Netflix officially unveiled the feature at its second product event on Wednesday. This new search experience will utilize OpenAI's GPT to provide users with a conversational discovery experience. Okay, interesting. So you want to talk your way into what the next show you want to watch is. Sort of playing the devil's advocate here. The last thing I want if I'm figuring out what to watch like immediately is a conversation. I just want you to give me the show based on past recommendations, based on what I've watched and liked in the past, and just start playing it, right? When Netflix waits for not even 3 seconds to play the next episode, I think they're doing something right. You don't want to give people that dead space between show times for them to pry themselves off of the screen and go do something, I don't know, actually productive. Users can enter their preferences using natural phrases like, I want something fun. No one's going to type that out. I mean, obviously there's going to be voice-assisted input. I want something funny and upbeat, or even more detailed requests such as, I want something scary but not too scary, and maybe a little bit funny but not haha funny. Is that the thought process for how people discover shows? Are people genuinely thinking like, hey, this is a genre, but not too much funny, I want something scary, something that spooks me out a bit. This is not how people discover shows. At least this is not how I discover shows. I usually know what I like. I have a list of shows that I like. I guess if you're a first time user in Netflix, which I don't know if there are any, because of how pervasive it is, this could be a good way for you to find that first show. Anyway, the feature is set to roll out this week to iOS users as an opt-in beta. Some subscribers in Australia and New Zealand have already had access to it, as reported by Bloomberg last month. It's a good way to sort of, it's kind of bold, so I don't want you to be shoving the search experience in my face. So it's a good thing that you're asking me if I want to opt into this. Other streaming competitors are also leveraging Gen AI for search. For instance, Amazon has an AI voice search experience on Fire TVs that responds to open-ended queries about TV shows and movies. a closer comparison is Tubi's ChatGPT powered Tubi. Who the heck streams on Tubi? A ChatGPT powered search tool which answered content related questions and suggested movies based on a user specific request. Okay, so generative AI based search is taking on the streaming world by storm. People are going to be talking to their TVs in order to figure out what they want to watch because people want to have a conversation when they're ready to sort of turn their brains off and watch some brain rot TV. Okay, this one's for developers. Hugging Face releases a free operator-like agentic tool. Free is a very loaded world in the world of AI. What does this mean? Does this mean it's just open source? I mean, obviously, whatever tool you're going to be using to build your applications, you're either going to have to consume it as an API, which is going to be free up to a certain limit, or you're going to have to host your own model on servers in the cloud, which again is not free. You're going to have to pay the cloud providers. A team at Hugging Face has released a freely available cloud-hosted. Okay, that is the most generous definition of free, at least so far from the read of it. Computer using AI agent. But be forewarned, it is quite sluggish and occasionally makes mistakes. Well, if it's freely hosted on the cloud, I would expect it to not be blazing fast. Hugging Face's agent called Open Computer Agent is accessible via the web and can use a Linux virtual machine preloaded with several applications. Okay, so unless you're in the developer community, you're probably not using Linux machines. Okay, so a virtual machine. Does it have to be a virtual machine as well? Including Firefox. Similar to OpenAI's operator, you can prompt Open Computer Agents to complete a task. Say, use Google Maps to find Hugging Face HQ in Paris and sit back as the agent opens the necessary programs and figures out the required steps. So, I mean, you could do that. So when you think about tasks that you could do with, or at least you know the steps to do a task, but you're just too lazy to do it, using AI agents, the use of AI agents doesn't seem like too compelling of a use case. But if you, for example, didn't know how to do a certain task, like if you're, I don't know, like if you wanted to partition your system drive, you'd have to tell OpenAI or this agent, like, hey, help me partition my system drive. I don't know how to do it. I don't know the steps. I'm too lazy to look up the steps. That could be useful, right? To help you do something that you don't know how to do. But if you're just using it to buy tickets off of a particular website, you're just being lazy, bro. Open Computer Agent can handle simple requests well enough, but more complicated ones like searching for flights tripped it up in TechCrunch's testing. Open Computer Agent often runs into CAPTCHA tests that it's unable to solve. Gotcha. Okay. Obviously, my faith in CAPTCHAs are restored. Excuse me. I think most websites have. Excuse me. Still recovering. Most websites have some form of wall for robotic access that prevents, bots from scraping data from their sites or bots from using your site. And AI agents, if these walls are effective enough, are going to come up against these walls. There's a reason you can't just create a scraper that scrapes data from LinkedIn, from Facebook, because these websites have very rigorous walls and protections in place that prevent scraping or use and abuse by bots. You're going to get rate limited. You're going to maybe get your service denied and whatnot. You'll also have to wait in a virtual queue to use Open Computer Agent, a queue seconds to minutes long, depending on demand. So I think that's the other thing. If you can't really do complicated tasks like, I don't know, search up the cheapest tickets to go to somewhere, which doesn't seem like too difficult of a task. But also if you have a very limited use case in terms of what kind of operating system you can access, and on top of that, you're going to have to wait in a queue to be able to access it. I don't think this is going to see a lot of use unless they make this better, faster. Okay, still not sold on computer agents that are trying to take control of your computer and do the most trivial of tasks for you. Beyond the humanoid hype, why specialized robots will dominate the next decade. This is a use case of AI that I am fully 100% behind. I think there isn't enough innovation happening in the AI-powered hardware space, or at least enough innovation that we're paying attention to. But this is fully, this fully is a trend I expect to paywall. Okay, well, I'm not gonna obviously create an account at Fortune. I'm not gonna go through the trouble of removing the paywall, but humanoid robots, guys, it is worth the hype. I'll do a segment about humanoid robots. I'll keep an eye out for developments in the space. Anyway, that's it for me from me for today. Thanks for watching. I will catch you.